Next we come to the need for conservation of water. Now as we have seen that water is so important in our day-to-day lives for agriculture, industries and in so many other fields, it is essential that we conserve this water. Now we all know that 2/3 of the earth is covered by water, but when we are talking of conservation of water, what we are basically implying is fresh water. We are not talking of the ocean waters or saline water, we are talking of fresh water that we get from precipitation or rainfall which gets collected in the rivers, lakes and underground. And this water is becoming lesser and lesser because of the various activities of mankind. Now, as you can see that they have given a number of points. The first point, of course, is irrelevant. Kindly delete it, as I have done in my book. We will renumber them, and I have only picked the 1, 2, and 3 points, as these are definitely, children, the most important pertinent causes for the reason why we are now facing shortage of water. So in the first point, as you can see, I've underlined over exploitation and excessive use. That means we are using too much of water even when it is not really necessary. Farmers are growing crops by taking out water from tube wells, and they are growing crops where rainfall is not enough for such crops, but they are taking out large quantities of water from the wells and tube wells, and therefore the water table is drastically getting lesser and lesser. Secondly, pollution. Now we all know that we have so many ways in which we are polluting water, whether it is the sewage waste, domestic waste, industrial waste, pesticides and fertilizers from agriculture being washed into the water bodies. Now that is why if water gets polluted, it is no longer fit for consumption or for domestic use. And the third important point is that our population is growing. As population grows, we need more fresh water to make water available for drinking and for any other domestic use, and even for producing and growing more crops. So increasing population, pollution and overexploitation, these are the three basic causes for the need now that we need to conserve water. To conserve water, there are three things that can be done. And these three things are developing water saving technology, preventing water pollution, thirdly, promoting watershed development, rainwater harvesting, water recycling and reuse. Now, water saving technology is very simple. These days, you have taps where you just put your hand under the tap and the water starts flowing. And when you remove your hand from the tap, the water stops. That is the technology where there is no wastage of water. And in this way, if you will look up, you will find lots and lots of ideas where technology has developed such kind of gadgets which will help us to prevent wastage of water and thus conserve water. Next is to prevent water pollution. That means that we should use lesser and lesser chemicals, whether it is in washing, cleaning, or using kind of fertilizers. Wherever we use pesticides, all these kind of things, we should ensure that when they are being disposed, they do not enter into any kind of water body. The third point says promoting watershed development. Now basically watershed is the hilly area where all along the slopes, when it rains, the water flows into small streams, and these streams flow into bigger and bigger streams until ultimately they join and come into a main river. So all that area and the slopes of the mountains where the streams are flowing, if we plant trees, we will prevent the washing away of soil by the water, and that will also help to conserve water. Rainwater harvesting, we will be dealing with in more detail just now. And of course, recycling and reusing water as far as possible is also going to help us to conserve water. So one of the methods of conservation of water which is being really promoted and which is being very effective also is rainwater harvesting. Now rainwater, to understand, and harvesting also you understand. So they've given the definition: the activity of collecting rainwater directly or recharging it into the ground to improve groundwater storage in the aquifer. So basically there are two ways in which we are doing it. One is that we collect the rainwater and we use it. I put a tub outside in the open, it rains, the water gets filled in it, and I use that water later on to mop the floor or to water the plants. The other method, which is more effective, but it is definitely more, you have to spend more money on it, is to recharge it into the ground. That means I have to take a pipe, or there may be a previously existing well or a hand pump, and you connect it to the pipe from your rooftop, and the rainwater from the rooftop through the pipe is taken directly into the ground, and it goes underground into the aquifer, and it recharges the water underground. That, of course, is a much more effective method, as we can store much more rainwater by taking it into the ground. Now, what are the objectives of rainwater harvesting? As you can see, there are 4 points, and all of them are very important. One, of course, is to raise the level of the groundwater. The second and a very important point is that we prevent the flooding. Now, we all know that if it rains continuously for a few hours, then what happens all along the roads? We get knee-deep water, and people find it very difficult to move, vehicles find it difficult to move. The reason is that everywhere we are covering the ground with roads and cement and brick, and we are making it into a hard surface. And if you will cover all the soil with hard rocks and cement, the water will not sink into the ground. And if the water will not sink into the ground, it will remain on the surface and flood the roads. So if we take that water through pipes into the ground, we will prevent the flooding and the wastage of water. Also, this water goes into the drains, into the sewage lines, and it becomes dirty polluted water. Clean rainwater turns into dirty polluted water, and we can prevent that from happening. And of course, during the dry season, when we all know that the water table goes down, by rainwater harvesting, we will ensure that this does not take place. Now, what are the objectives of rainwater? Now, in the cities, a lot of water falls on the top of buildings, on the roof of buildings, and on the roof of the buildings we have drained water, we have drains for rainwater, in which the rainwater goes, and these drains children go into the sewage line. That means, as I had mentioned earlier, clean, good, pure rainwater is being wasted and getting polluted by going into the sewer lines. Therefore, what is the best way of conserving this water is to do rooftop rainwater harvesting. That means that when the water falls on the roof, we attach fresh pipelines to that roof, and these pipes are not connected to the sewer line, but they are connected to a tank in which the water is stored. From that tank, we can then again take pipelines through a filtration chamber into the underground water aquifer. By doing so, we can gradually transfer that rainwater into the underground aquifer without allowing that water to be wasted. If in case we do not have the possibility of storing the water in these kind of tanks and taking it underground, if you observe the picture figure 7.8, they have shown the other methods, which is you can connect it to a dry hand pump which may be near your house or in your house, or maybe a well which is now dry and abandoned. There are trenches, and then they can also make what they have mentioned as a bund, but basically you are blocking the vein, making the water get stored behind the wall, and then gradually the water will sink into the soil or percolate into the soil and gradually sink into the underground water aquifer. That means the rainwater can be directly taken into the aquifer through pipes, hand pumps or wells, or we can collect it in trenches or any small areas near your house which is lying blank and empty by digging into it and allowing the rainwater to collect. Some water will evaporate, but some water will sink and gradually reach into the water table. The advantage and importance of rainwater harvesting is almost similar to the objective, because the objectives are why we are doing it. So the advantage objectives overlap with each other. It increases the availability of water during the dry season and increases the level of the water in wells and bore wells. improves the quality of the groundwater by diluting salinity. That means when the water is less in the aquifer, the salts are there in the water from the rocks. But when more fresh water will reach into the aquifer, it will dilute the salts. You understand? The fresh water also that we drink, children, has some amount of salts dissolved in it. They are healthy for us. So if the concentration of salts is too much, then they are not healthy. But in a small amount, they are very important and essential for our bodies. And by adding more rainwater, we may dilute the salts and then they remain healthy. The water remains good for us. It is going to reduce soil erosion. All of these points, children, one point which I have related to say does not cause pollution, it is not relevant to the topic that we are doing, so you can just ignore that point. Now, we've been doing rainwater harvesting in India since ancient times, especially in those areas where the amount of rainfall received is less, like Rajasthan. But you can see I have written old next to a number of traditional methods that they have mentioned, where they have given the names Johad and Kund in Rajasthan, Khadin in Gujarat, Charuva in Andhra Pradesh, and so on till Zongs in Jammu Kashmir. You need to learn these names, as you will see later on that they have been asked from time to time in the board exams. The modern systems which I had explained earlier, which is the recharge of groundwater, as I have mentioned, modern under the figure 7.8, 4 methods are there. There are many more, children, but these are what you can say much more popular. So you have pit recharge, trenches, dug wells and hand pumps. Details are not really required. You just need to understand, and the figure that they have given in 7.8, especially the first one, has come in the board exam, as you can see from the pictures which I have posted of the board exams and their solution. Now children, all that I have explained to you, I am posting a YouTube link where you can very clearly see the explanation done beautifully about the rainwater harvesting and the old methods, along with pictures and diagrams to explain you the processes. All that I have explained verbally, you can see it in that particular video. Do look at it, you will find great clarity after seeing this video.